Coach, that was fun. You said you didn't want the team to result to playing isolation basketball with some playmakers out, and 37 assists on 46 made field goals. What did you just make of how the team was able to get into an offensive rhythm early?
Well, they committed to it. They committed to each other and trusting each other, and no one was concerned about what their game looked like. We were just collectively playing together, and give Dyson a lot of credit. I thought he was the catalyst for a lot of that. His decision making when we got in the paint. Those are things that you got. I mean, I talk about them all the time. You can imagine how much we talk about them as a team and work on them. And so when you see a group of guys truly play like a team, you're not always going to be successful doing that. But I think that's, as we've said, that's the pathway for our team. There's nothing wrong. We had a few situations where they're, switching pick and roll 1 through 5. And, good to get in an isolation situation. It's good. But we had someone run up and create some indecision, and then we shot. So even in those situations, we're connected. One time Dyson had something, and he shot it to Zach on the wing real quick. So they just were thinking about how to make each other better on both ends of the floor. I mean, it's visible. You're thinking about what you can do to help your teammate. But it's not easy. You have to really have a lot of trust. And I thought that's where being able to run puts us in a mindset where that occurs. And as we said, defensively we're getting better. And tonight I think we took a step offensively that we just have to have everybody continue to commit to that. And we got to keep working on it because it's not something that you just kind of decide you want to play a certain way. You have to grind and practice and learn how to play together.
13 steals tonight as well. You mentioned Dyson and how aggressive he was defensively as well, but it just looked like it was a total team effort defensively to try and slow down the Lakers. What do you make of how they were able to play defense, especially there in the second half where it felt like they really shut down the Lakers starting lineup?
Yeah, I think, again, we can always point to the job that Dyson does on the ball, but I thought Onyeka, Mo, those guys in different coverages, were in the right place. They were executing, and that's against probably the best pick and roll player in the league, other than the guy that we got on our team. And that's not easy to do. And for the most part, I thought we had some breakdowns, and pay for them when you do. But even those situations, guys were talking it out. And, just really pleased with, I don't know how many assists we had or how many buckets, but a lot of good things. And the crazy thing about this league is you can feel one way last night and another way today. But the challenge is that this game's now behind us, and we continue to take something from these games and use it to get better. And, you never know what that looks like that you can take, but there's some things we did tonight that I think we can take with us.
Quin, this game by Mo Gay tonight, I mean, compared to where he was a year ago, like what's allowed him to break out like this?
I think a couple things. One, I think the work that he's put in before practice. He's one of a number of guys that basically go through a pre-practice with a group of our coaches that put a group of players together, and they just work. And they work on the right things. They work on playing together. And I think he's become more and more instinctive. You can tell he's kind of settled in, where the game's moving slower for him offensively, and he, defensively, he's just unique. Some of the versatility that he has, but I don't think it's magic. He's been hungry. He wants to get better, and he's putting the time in. And games like tonight, he gets even more opportunity to do that. Obviously on the floor, and it's like I've said before with Jalen and Onyeka and KP, we're really trying to find as many minutes for Mo as we can. And, he's deserving of that. But he's working is the short answer to the question. He's just putting time in, getting better. And you guys don't get to see it all the time, obviously, but when it comes out like a game like tonight. You know, he should feel great, and frankly, the guys on our staff that are spending a lot of time with him, encouraging him, and showing him film and teaching him. But it's fun to do that when you got a player that's a sponge.
When you dropped in that floater on the first trip, like, is that something that's in his bag?
I haven't seen. Yeah, I hesitate to talk about anybody's bag. I picture a hefty bag, a convenience store plastic bag, and then we got a paper bag. So all I know is that I haven't seen him do it before, but my guess is he's been working on it.
Quin, I know Asa hasn't played a lot to this point due to some way you said about having 3-4 guys ahead of him. But what did you see from him? 27 minutes, very productive.
You know, similar to some of the stuff I just talked about with Mo, to echo that. He's another guy that is putting time in and I think believes in, you know, the things that he can do on the court to help our team be successful. Both those guys have just thrown themselves into the group. And it's good to see him playing with confidence. In both Asa and Mo, I think, since the summer, there's been a consistent, the only voice that they've heard talking about whether they should shoot the ball in the corner has been take that shot. And so it's good to know that they have confidence to do that, and that we have the confidence in them, and our teammates do as well. So Ace's activity is unique. You know, he just finds ways to get into plays, and you know, I'm happy to see him do that. He impacts the game. Both those guys, we're not running plays for him. They're just playing basketball.
Coach, I know not every night, you know, the ball is going to see the bottom of the net. We've talked about that before, but I'm curious what you thought about tonight's shots quality, especially from the perimeter.
Well, I think we were making the extra pass. You know, when we got in the lane, we felt the defense collapsed, and we weren't necessarily having to challenge shot blockers. We had our eyes out. And when you do that, that pass in and of itself kind of is a vote of confidence to the guy that's shooting it. And oftentimes it's not the first pass that gets shot. Somebody moves it, but it's just it's a mindset. And my feeling is when that does happen, when the player that ends up with a shot, you know, oftentimes it's a better shot, but it's also an affirmation that you should shoot. It's someone showing confidence in you because you move the ball like that. We moved it quickly, and I think that's important. That's one way we didn't have to fight as much pressure. You know, so that was good to see.
Coach, can you speak a little bit on Quin Wallace's offensive growth? Coming to the league as like a defensive first guy, he's had a lot of, you know, he had a 6 assist game, another 7 tonight, and with 4 threes. You speak on his offensive growth and what you've seen from kind of year 1 to year 2 with him.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Keaton is playing because he plays defense. He's actually had an offensive game. You're seeing more of it, I think. Particularly, he's hit some big shots late clock because he is confident in that. I think the biggest thing for him has been understanding what our team needs. And our teams needed, you know, his steadiness handling the ball and the defense. And then if we're playing the way that I think is the best way for us to play, where the ball is moving, you know, his offense kind of comes as part of that. And, you know, he's got the ability to get a shot and even to get in the rim and get an advantage. But he's another guy. When he got in there a couple times at the end of the clock, he shot it, but there was a lot of times he got in and he was looking to get it out. And the more that we can create for each other, and the more we have the mindset about how to help each other, that's the formula for this team to be good offensively.
Coach, most of this game is hustle, and really getting after it. You know, obviously, win or lose, you can live with your team hustling.
Yeah.
You know, they're all into it. You know, so just talk about this team taking advantage of the Lakers' kind of lackadaisical plays, back-to-back steals. It seems like you all were really, really hustling and just taking advantage of just the Lakers just kind of just running up and down the floor. Didn't look like they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk about what our team did. Yeah, I think that hustle manifests itself lots of ways. I mean, one thing is just us running. If we can put pressure on teams by doing that, the challenge there is, you know, if you get 3 guys running, not all 3 of them get the ball. So you've got to be willing to really run for each other. Defensively, the competitive endurance that's required to sustain a possession is, you know, like anything, I guess, endurance is what it is. You know, you just have to continue to push that, and you know, it's good to see, and good to see our guys embrace those things in those specific parts of the game where they're, you know, they can be impactful.
Thanks, Coach.